Woo, we are blessed. Well, I am excited to talk about chaos today. Woohoo! It doesn't sort of seem like the world is just in, a chaotic place. It's hard to understand what to pay attention to and what to ignore. And I was thinking about a few years ago, one of the things I love to do is go on retreat, to go to a place that is peaceful. And so there's a wonderful retreat center in Joshua Tree, California. It's in the high desert, and it's just one of my favorite places in the world. And I had gone a few years ago, and I got a special deal on an airlines. I was going to fly into Orange County, didn't really quite know where Orange County Airport was, but you fly in, you get a rental car, and you drive up over the mountains, and then you drive into Joshua Tree, and it's just really quite spectacular to be out in the desert. And I spent 10 days there in the silence and just sort of got to that place of peace and calm. And then I had to go home. So I wanted to take as much of that peace home with me as I possibly could. And I got in my rental car. I had been with 100 people that whole 10 days, but we hadn't talked to each other. And so it was so nice to be with 100 people and think such wonderful thoughts of them. And I didn't talk to them, so they probably thought wonderful things about me as well. So I was driving down the freeway, headed towards the airport, and realized, I should stop and get gas. That whole thing about rental cars, and they want to charge you a lot of money, and so you're like going to stick it to the man because you're going to get gas right before you turn the car back in so they don't charge you an arm and a leg. So I thought, I need to find a gas station. And then I realized that I had forgotten to charge my phone. So I just had a little bit of battery left, but it was no big deal. I'm going to stay in this peaceful place. All things going to be fine. And then when I got back over the mountains and started heading into Southern California, I got lost. I did not have GPS, and I do not have a good sense of direction. And in Southern California, I realized there are no landmarks. So I'm driving around, I'm starting to get that sense of anxiety. When you think, I gotta return the car, I'm gonna be late, I'm gonna miss my plane, what am I gonna do? I'm just trying to be at peace, stay in that peaceful place, everything's going to be fine, all is well. And the phone rings, and it's my daughter. Now, I know that my daughter is traveling from New York to Washington, D.C. by train. I'm in California, she's on the East Coast. And so I just want to check in on her. I'm going to use that last little bit of my battery to see if she's okay. And I answer the phone, and she says, "Mom, the worst possible thing has happened." And the phone dies. I blew off getting gas. I tried to find where I was going. I stopped at 2 places to try to get directions. I was trying to stay calm. And the thoughts arose. What would be the worst thing that could happen? Now, I have no other information other than the fact that my daughter is a bit dramatic. I'm hoping this is going to play into whatever the answer to this question is, but I could feel the tension and anxiety arising within me, and the stories that I started to tell, and the chaos that I started to create. It suddenly seemed like nobody was moving fast enough. I needed to get to the airport, I needed to find a plug, I needed to get my phone on and find out what was the worst possible thing that could happen. I'm going through security, everybody has a baby, a stroller, 5 carry-ons. I'm feeling the anxiety arising, and the stories in my mind are trying to not make them be on the bad side, but I'm thinking, what on earth? I'm going through the list. What are all the possible things that could have happened? It could have been this or it could have been that. I'm frantically searching for a plug once I get past security and find my gate. I plug my phone in, and I finally get my daughter on the line. What is the worst possible thing that could have happened? Mom, the train got stuck in a tunnel, and I had no Wi-Fi for an hour. This is a true story. So I had that opportunity in that period of time between the phone call and the second one, where I could see clearly that all the chaos and anxiety that was created within me was of my own making. It was all going on in my head. And so we do have this opportunity to realize the power of our ability to find a place of peace, regardless of what is going on around us or within us. I was thinking about this yesterday because we ended the prosperity class and we've had 10 weeks to really bond with everybody. And we were talking about this difficulty about how to figure out divine guidance. How do we figure out what to pay attention to and what to ignore? A lot of us were talking about when we have these little vision cards and we're supposed to write out what we want our life to be about. And it usually takes me 5 or 6. You know, I'm kind of thinking this is what I want, and then I'm realizing that's not what I want. And so we talked a lot about that gut feeling and trying to determine, is that divine guidance or, is that indigestion? And so I hope everybody relates to this struggle that we all have of trying to listen for divine guidance and yet struggling to identify it. And there's a very short book by a guy named Carl Bozeman. It's called Are You Listening? Addressing the Divine Within. And one of the things I like about the book is that it just asks some very clear questions that we can ask of ourselves. The first one is, who am I asking? When we're asking for divine guidance, who do we think we're talking to? When I was growing up in the Methodist Church, and my mom and dad, I was, as a child, thinking I'm talking to some guy. I don't know who he is, but he's really important, and he's going to listen to my prayers. But when my prayers didn't get answered, I felt disappointed and I lost faith. And so when I walked in here about 20 years ago, and I found out that one of the unity principles was that this divinity was within us. That there's one power and one presence in the universe, and some people call that God, but that the Christ Spirit, the divinity, is within us. This was radical thinking to me, that I could go within and ask those questions and reflect upon what is it that I need to pay attention to, and what is it that I can ignore. And so I think that's a powerful question that we all can ask, because we do have this incredible power within us, this innate potential, this divine intelligence, if you will. And one of the questions that Carl Bozeman encourages us to ask is, what are we asking for? What is it that we really need? We can always ask for money, but is it really money that we're looking for? Duke often says that it's not the money, it's how it makes us feel. It's what we do with it that makes us feel happy or sad or frustrated or lacking. And so we can ask ourselves, what do we really want? What is it that's missing in your life that you need that divine guidance on. So who are we asking, and what are we asking for? And the third question is probably the most important. How will I know? How will I know what the answer is? I have a girlfriend named Pam, and she told me this story several years ago. She was really struggling, going through a divorce, and sort of had that sense of not knowing what she wanted in life and feeling disconnected from that divinity within her. She said she had actually felt like she lost faith. Like, God, I don't know who you are, but you're not listening to me, and I don't feel heard. And so she told me the story that she was sitting in traffic, and it had come to a stop, and she remembered that she was just in the midst of this struggle within herself of having that sense of having lost faith. And suddenly the traffic started to go again. And she looked up and she noticed right next to her was a big truck. And on the side of the truck it said, Pam. Now, apparently there is a truck company called Pam. I don't know what it stands for, but Pam in that moment knew that that was her sign. That when we think we have been lost and isolated, that when we raise our gaze and look around us and look for whatever sign it is that might be showing to us that there is this divine intelligence all around us, we have to open our eyes and pay attention. That Zen saying is, wisdom is knowing what to pay attention to and what to ignore. And that we can rely upon that innate wisdom within us. And maybe we won't get such a great big slap up the side of the head sign, but those internal nudges and knowings that we can pay attention to and know. It's said that we can walk in love just as Jesus did, that we can have this sense of love and compassion for ourselves so that we can hold that space of not knowing and looking for the answers within. Yehuda Berg is a man who said something. He said, unconditional love is the weapon of the future. And it should start with ourselves, that we can love ourselves, forgive ourselves, and to be able to listen to that divine guidance within us. There's another thing that is said that just really strikes me as so true, and that is our mind wants to be comfortable, but our heart seeks the truth. And so we can go to that place within our heart, even though our mind may be just wanting to be comfortable. And we can step outside and take that divine guidance that is often off the beaten path. And so let's take those thoughts into meditation. And as we close the meditation, just remember this simple thought. The mind may want comfort, but the heart seeks the truth. So it is. Peace I give.
I'm going to talk just for a second to kind of explain this song. It's called Home, and still to this day, but starting maybe about 2 years ago, a very close person to me started having problems when it came to depression, suicidal thoughts, things of that nature, and it still happens to this day, and it's gotten better, but it's a never-ending battle, and I know that we see a lot of stuff like that in the news, especially recently. But this song was dedicated to that person, and it's just about how things aren't always okay, and that's fine, and that it's going to get better, and it might not be better today, but if you hold out, then in time it's going to be okay. So this song is called Home.
It's okay.